Chibai coming to Christabel Khiangte Corazza ani US kan ni tu na hianin South Carolina state ka pasal le ka fatinen kan omani min shelo tu tan chuanin kapuhi pu Hrawva chuta kapahi Casey Lalvunga mitam tak chuanin Zikpuii Pa ti hianin in shezok mai theni hi kan unaw zinga no pang der kan unaw zinga po pariat kan oma pariat na kani kay chu i buin hi nghe ni ban ne thak takin ti meng mother tongue day ani an ti chu chu i kan lom ni takania hey pianpui ṭawng ni ti na nia chu mi tang chuan pu chan hi ma po hianin min sawma thu soi turin i pianpui ṭawng ni mà sẽ cắt thiam tắc tắc vàng po ni mía lâu tí chu ka sia mà sẽ ka phur pui le ka phur pui chu ta kan trong hi ka ngai hnu em awang ani zok mai thi ni thiam wang chu ni lo Mizo trong hi nia hei han ka soyang khanin midang ang chan ka thiam lawa Masi Mizoram piang kan si lawa kay hi kapa hi ambassador Mizoram ambassador masa bernia India ramatang khanin so New Delhi piang kania New Delhi ka piang zo kachan Australia te kan kala mundang dang ram dang dang kan kala ni and so Mizo trong po kha kap ingeni kanule kapa khan inatrangin minzir tirani Mizoram hi ka hun hi mo mitam tak panan siya to may thiam ma se kumthum ay taman nila kanan bel kom tak tak chanin i and so chumi ban chanin hey du angin kanal lawa ma se zir cha chukutumani i thil chat deuh mai chu kapa hi engeni hey theory ngai dana ne ya Mizo trong hi kan no pan lai kan lo zir tur ania bang chu Mizo trong hian thu kan nei hi mo hey kum som mo kum som pasari amo I or I upa kan ni to chanin kami athuk kha kan han zir tak tak thelo ti kha aring kat me chumi bang chani kum ruk kan ni khanin ka pain Mizorama min om tira hey ki mani society le kan dan le kan mi tenen kan hey kan society min wat chia lu top mai ni and khata khanin thariat vel ka omani thariat ka omlai khan mizo tong kha karon thiam chhota chuta at thuk nen thleng khanin I ka thiam ta ni mo ka thiam na po kha hey a real big ta ni bang chu ka chung te nen kan oma chuta ka pi te ka pi lalui le kapisiami mo like hey kapanu le kanunu kan min duat ema hey zana te an hey min mut puya I mizo thon thu te min shila ang ngai no mi ka ti theilu to kai muthil ma mizo pa omdan mizo nu omdan mizo dan te an han seya an han trong te kan han ingeni kan ngày tọa na khana luta avan lutak ka ngày tọa hian kha kapi te khati khanin min lo thil te min lo shil thei te kha no chumi wang cha khami experience kha kan nei wang khanin I hey ka thin lunga luta ni chu ta kan han chu Mizoram chu thariat zo chanin kan kal san ta ram dang da kan kala chu nia hei trong hi kan man ring lo chuanin I theing la ol tuk theing la ol tuk chui wang chuanin I khang tiang lai ka theing lai po khanin kanu le ka pa kha chuanin hrithiam takin min min hrithiam me ni min dem lova mà se mizo trong khat an mang renga chu in hey chung in khom te kan la ne ka ho ten mo hey boarding school te ka oma ram dang dang te kan han oma mà se ina ka om kha chuanin zo takin kanu le ka pa kha I le mizo cho ten siam thawa khoya po kalila chu hey ke ma engeni ka DNA mo ka kan ni na kha ne na om trat ne ni จู่ๆเนี่ยรำดังดังก็กลายแต่ข้านินมิโซตรงจู่อัดตรงข้าก็เทหิละนี่นี่เอ๊ะข้าก็อินละ experience แล้วจานินอินใช่ไหมยังเฮกันฟาดแต่ปอกัน next generation แต่ปอมิโซรามาอมเริงเหล่าแต่ปอฮีมิโซตรงที่ฮีเชียตรงที่ฮีฮาร์ซาเชียthiamนะอันมาโมอจอกเดมไอจวนกติเกจานินจู่มีบางจานินเฮก็ป้าปอข้านินเฮมิโซตรงอีthiamเหล่า min how lo mizo trong mizo dara heri min how lut lo min hip lut zo kapa khachanin kanu le kapa khamo le kanu le kapa kha chu team thatak khan lo ni ni awang chu kapa kha a vision kha chu a fa te hianin he mizo trong kan thiam adu a chu ta i engeni ma se atna wang te khanin a zin te nga ya ina khan omlo ma se kanu kha ina omrenga Englo kanu tu rope we the hostess alonia embassy a pokanin a ho tunu ber khania masi khatilaya khanin kapa kha thelo wangin kanu khanin min zirtira chumi bang kapa khan vision aneya kanu khanin vision ngeni ti ti puitling tu mo khania an patning ni khan team chatak takania chumi bang chanin alomom manin nupa hi in roll takin he fatipo kan han raise kan han nginian kan han enkol chuanin I fatitan po security ro pui takani chuta kapa khachanin mizo tong te kha mi ma tong te po kha poye ti lo re re nga aza pui lawa ke pon ka za pui lawa kan ni na kha pathiana tangin na ni ti kha a kapa kha chiang ema le zo fa te hi I khoi po he man lai kan han zin tak tak lai ka chan zo fa te kha an mang lo ne Khawvel lai hanin are ve to la to ka ma se khang teng lai te khan kan ngai to hen Mizote oi mizo trong shet tur po lo reng reng an ya mo khang teng lai te khanin ma se khata kha chanin he ka pa kha chana rin dan chanin nya tu na chanin he facilities le thil ti dan ti po kan la nei lo ma se nakina le he pathian hian ni na min pe ka wang hian thil ti the na po min pe don ti kha ring kap me tu po sap te tu te po thil ro pui ta kan ti kha chanin an ni kha angai da zo fa ti pon kan ti thei tho ti kha aril ro khan om kap me chami confidence kha pathian atang ani ka pa khan anei kha so along hi kati em um nya he kan han thang lian zela chu ta chuan he reilo te chu he ti mela mun danga kal tai la mizo ni na le thang tiang te kha kan han shat lo lai te po kha omani kan han hlut lo lai te po omani kan no pan lain ma se khang tiang lai kha chuanin ka pa kha chuanin min shi thiam ma I shi thiam ti le ma bai te na kina I upathuna chuanin I mi te izong chuak thawang I ron kir le tho don ti hi ka sha ti tlat me chu tu na hian hei van ne khang takin khoya po kalela mizo zo fa te community hi an zel me ni chu mana in 2011 vela khan yang hei mizo church heta kan phuah po anran dina khata khan ka in khom china like ka in khom tam thela wang che he in mun dang dang te ministry te kan lo nei zel ka the ang pain ke kala ma se so fa te po kha he patient takin min lo deal min lo welcome me ma kan kal the chanin ma se khami community a om wang khanin hey mizo trong po a trong khanin pathian thu so like engeni thu so tur ten min so ma 75 80% ka chu sap trong in ka tama 20% chu khami zo trong in ka thiama ma se community anon oma hey shem he the patient takin ka han kala ka han practice chozel chon hey tu na po ma nai kha chan ka thiam le to ni so I wan chan in kha alom mi ka ti me ma ni trong thiama ma ni trong thiam tum ka ta om te le ma ni trong han hlut te hi alo poi mo ni awang chu I hei hi nge ni sap trong chanin nge ni anchor kan tia ma se I anchor ai chan min ti nget tu ani me yang chu I e like mizo trong hi mo kan society a le kan ni na hian in min fit met tu ni aba a trong kan thiam chuanin i englo confidence te min fit tu ni mo chu i a hey voi khat chum kala nu lat lai po khanin mian i hey i mizo lo lutuk he i kor te po ka puan te po isin lo he i kor te po ha he sap kor hlir ha i mi zo lo min ti a i min hawan i pa po na za po yang chen min ti ma se karil ru khana e me ma ka pain nga ti nge i mel tang hian i ril ru na ti ka sha ti ka pa ka za ni chu awang chu oi min za pui te chon in ti nge mi zo ni dan mo ha ti nge ka tumang ka ngai si lo mo kha ti khan ka ril ru kha ha ma se khata tak khanin i kapa ne na kapa ente mizo ni ka du me mizo puan po ka fing lo i har sanya te ka ti i mit wi ka zo i zo in kapa mizo ka ni lo hi apui ka ti kapa khan buite khang tiang lampanga lungai reng su thil pakhati shat tur chu i mizo na hi i kor hak wang mizo kor i hak wang in mizo ni lo i tak su chu a hanin thisen om kha ka mizo ni chumi wang chanin sap kor po hala mizo no in sap kor ha atia chu i identity hi tu manan lak sak thelo che i englo khat khan min ti tat me chumi wang chani khata khanin ka hlet me ta ni ka mizo na kan khami ka nge na wang khanin mizo tong po the hil ka tum lo re mizo tong hi ka hlut i ngoi ngoi ani and so chumi wang chuanin i aro pui hakati me ma englo nya kha min lo how te po kha ka sha thiam i awang chu an lo tang ve ni mo englo zofa ni na kha ka the ngil te kha an lo hlau wangin an ni zo kin ka sha ka dem chu ma se khang teng lai tak khan ka pa khan dik takin kan ni na kha asoya tang khanin ka pa po tu na to lawa lo lai pon ke chuanin ka zo na kha karon pan tat mai ni awang chu ke ma hian a nget ta ni mo chu alom em tu na po hianin ka ngai to hianin zo fa te po kan van ne ni chu kan anchor kan enge ni min khung nget ta ni mizo trong in mo mizo yes mizo trong in min khung nget it's an anchor mo kan identity a hian kan chiang bem chan thani kan identity a point kan shat tur chu number 1 hi pathian a hian kan identity a hian chiang ila awang chu ama pathian kan shat ma te khan aman min ron pan zo kan ya han ngai to la enge ni jungle za khan kan me ta ne chu ta chan missionary har salut tukin hindu ten tamma an tamte lul nen buddhist ten tamte lul muslim ten tamte lul nen khatilai takhanin ram noya an ron lu ta sa pho kha chu pathian in min ron panani ama thu min ron shil turin kha kan identity na a number 1 khani se khata khanin lalpa min siam tu min hlut tak tu kha kan bel chuanin kan ni na kan zo na kan tong te po hi min ron enge ni min ron hlut puyanga min ron shu zo kan ni mo kan nu le kan pa te le kan fa te tan tiro kan ti vak kha pathian in kha at thiam zo kan ni chubi ba za pathian a kan tlu tanga chuta kan identity hi kan thei hil lawanga kan tong hi kan zir zelanga kan thang chozel don ani and then inge ni chanchin thashil turin lalpa hian in min ko ni ti ka chiang em a chanchin tha hi englo i min inge ni min petu chu lalpa ni a chu tu na hian kan puang ani ma se hey inge ni tinge o ka sayang pastor ni kher ni lovin missionary ni kher ni lovin kan nun na tang kan society tang yanin pathian kan shat po chan kha ka aron luang lu tanga chu kan ni na tang hian enge ni tan chen cha kan shil don ani chu kan kal na pia nga hen pia kin te kan din zela chu ta enge ni hey structure deuh hian community minded daw hianin kan omzel may te hero pui tak kasin ngai to la khoya po kalila Khawvel hianin kanin thei hilo kanin en kolani chuta chuanin I hey tuna po mission SIM serving in mission relationship development director and headquarters at Mindania zone nungat about to lalpa in min hutsia Khawvel zone so in min lo shadonti kami rin rukha aron put the tlat maya chu ente tuna po hianin kan global assembly kanin lapwa turin keima mizo nu minron som tlat ni chu makte mundang tanga mian soma mian zota professional tak te po an ko thema se zo nu ngat khan kan sia ka chu ka South Africa khan ka ba present ma se khami ma khan ka translate ingin ka le ti ra mizo tong matin ka sabok ani awang chu Khawvel hian mizo tong hian la shedon chawa chu mizo tong pon ron la hlut don ani ti hi ka ring tlat me ya South Africa kan nom lai po khanin pulp angani stage changhan mi shang khan umani tam tak and then kami zinga khanin he choir pakat African choir tan I chong chai don le Africa ramatan chong chai ro min tia chu kan choka sap chong chai tur khakania ma se mizo chong ka thiam lovin mizo chong in ka chong chai ma chu ka ngai to na kha chanin mizo thiam tak chan ka thiam lo zian she don lo ma se Khawvel kanin mizo chong hin che te tan mizo chong khanin ka chong chai sak ngata chu ta chuanin African te pawh oi in tong hi avan ngai nom ve avan mawi ve mo pathian a che ni in tong ah hian min tia khaka ro pui khaka ti ma chumi wang chuanin tuna pawh hianin hei ingeni Mother Tongue Day Pianpui Ṭawng Ni ani na hian kan ni na tang kan thiam thiam lo po thiam ber atang thiam lo ber theng zo fa te zong zong yanin mizo tong hi mangang u mizo tong hi hlutang u chu ta Khawvel po hianin mizo tong hi shero se awang chu lalpa hianin min chandama lalpa hian min du saka le lalpa tan hianin Khawvel hian thil ti tur kan ne ni chu karon soi du lo kan ni ka lo me lalpan mal som fek chu ro se in ni na ka sherengula mizo tong ka in thiam in mangzel ro ka lo me. Hi everyone, my name is Christabel Khiangte Corazza, and it is such an honor for me to be able to speak to you on this wonderful day, Mother Tongue Day, as our mother tongue is Mizo. For those of you who do not know me, I live in the US in South Carolina, and my grandfather was Hrawva, and also my father was Lalvunga, or otherwise known as Zikpuii Pa, and he was a writer and also the first ambassador representing India from Mizoram. And I was not born in Mizoram. I was born in New Delhi. And when you really add all the time that I have been in Mizoram, it hasn't been more than 3 years in my whole life. I am married. I've been married for 30 years. And my husband is from the US, and I have 3 boys. And we all live here in South Carolina. And so today, what an honor for me to speak about our mother tongue, Mizo. I learned it as a child, even though I wasn't, brought up in Mizoram. I was in a family where my father and my mother both thought that Mizo is really important for us to know. So ever since I was born, my parents spoke to me in Mizo at home. But I spoke back to them in English because we were living in Australia at that time. And what happened was when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my father decided to send me back to Mizoram. to learn Mizo and the ways of our culture so that it would soak into me, into my very being, because he really believed that in order to learn Mizo, and our culture, you have to be young to really soak it in. And Mizo, the language is tonal. And so in order for you to get all the tones and all the nuances of the language, it was better to learn it as a child. So I did, and I learned it so much I even forgot how to speak English for a while when I was young. However, as time went by, and I moved from country to country with my father, because of the lack of practicing my language, as many of you perhaps know what that feels like if you don't practice a language, it's very easy to forget, especially one like Mizo, which requires all the tones. I could understand it when people spoke it, but it was just difficult to speak it. So throughout my life, through the years, there were times that I couldn't speak it as well, and then there were times that I could speak it. And but however, my father always taught me that that God has a special calling for us and that our language is really special. And in order for us to have an identity, that we should always keep our mother tongue very close to who we are so that we won't lose our identity in this world. And the thing is, my parents were an amazing team because it was my dad's vision that all of his kids could speak in Mizo. And but being an ambassador, he traveled a lot and he had a lot of work to do. So my mom, she took that in the home front and made sure that we knew how to speak Mizo. So she was the one that helped my father fulfill his dream, and they worked beautifully as a team. So like I said, throughout the years, there were times that I was disconnected with my culture. But in those times, my father was very patient with me and just told me stories about our background and just who we are. I don't know if you know of the word like ngaithlak, and that there's not another word in any other language that means ngaithlak. And that's a very special Mizo word, which is about putting other people first. It's a very Christian and a very biblical characteristic that we have in our culture that puts others first in a good way to serve one another in a community. So those are the types of things that I've learned through my life about our culture. And one thing that I will say is that like I said, I love how Mizo describes things. I feel like it paints a picture. So when you hear an orator or somebody who speaks Mizo really well and you understand it, they're amazing. They're funny, it's deep, it's expressive, and it is absolutely beautiful. And so when people use that, like for example, if we just say in English, the man is walking down the street. Well, in Mizo, when a person says that, there's like sound effects and words that and ways to say it so that when someone uses one sentence to describe that, you know whether the person is tall, short, tiny, fat, or whatever it is, and there is a way to express it. So Mizo has a way of painting a picture in front of you with words. And so like I said, my father was very, very connected with our culture and wanted his kids to know it for sure. And so he really taught that to me and my brothers and my sisters. And, so like I said, just through the years, it was sometimes hard to keep up with it. But the really neat thing is, when I was younger, our Zofat, our people were not scattered so much all over the world like we are today. And so we didn't have the advantage of being able to move in with a community in a certain country and, to keep up with our language and things like that. But I was so blessed in 2009, 2010-ish, here in the Carolinas. The Mizo Presbyterian Church was opened and I was able to practice. At that time, they asked me to come and speak. And when I was at the pulpit, I was embarrassed because probably 75%, 80% of what I said was in English. But and then 20% was in Mizo. However, because I feel so strongly about my culture and my language, I just pushed through. But today I'm able to speak a lot more and I'm a lot more fluent. But that community really helped me. They were patient with me. I couldn't go to church every Sunday because of all of my other obligations in other parts of my job and things like that. But I went there when I could, and with their welcoming Ṭawng Ni and their beautiful just hearts, I was able to just keep practicing Mizo. And now I'm able to speak a lot better. And also, I really believe that God has called our people for something very special to spread the gospel. It's a very special calling. We have God's favor upon us in our identity and who we are. God is the one who created us, and He is the one that lifts us up, and He's the one that gives us favor. And as we turn to our identity and who we are, and we keep our culture the best that we can, the best that we can. Now, that's the key. Everyone can't do it perfectly because we're not all in Mizoram, perhaps, but the best that we know how, when we cling to that, I think God is pleased with that. So one thing I have learned about being a Mizo and speaking in Mizo, number one is the language is an anchor for us to be able to cling to who we are. Secondly, it gives us our special identity. And our identity in Christ is number one, and then secondly, our identity in our race, in who we are as Mizos, and we are blessed. We are so blessed. And there was a time when I was younger that people used to say, okay, Christabel, you don't speak in Mizo as well. You don't wear the Mizo blonde and you're not doing these traditional things. You're not Mizo. And I was really sad about that because I wanted to be that. To me, that was the best compliment if somebody said I was Mizo. And my father often told me, always reminded me that. But when someone very clearly said, Christabel, your father would be very ashamed of you if he really knew, just how badly you're not Mizo or whatever. And my father saw how sad I was after that comment. And he asked me what was wrong. And I said, Dad, I want to be Mizo, but I don't know how to wear the blonde. I'm not very good at it. And I know I wear Western clothes, but this is all that I know. And my Mizo is not very good. And my father's just stopped me in my tracks as I was saying that. And he said, the very blood that runs through your body is Mizo. So when you wear Western clothes or you wear all kinds of other clothes, you remember that you are a Mizo wearing those clothes. Your outside appearances do not make who you are. The very blood that runs through your body makes you Mizo. How wonderful that was. And I know that the people who said that to me didn't mean it to be mean to me. I know that they wanted more than anything for me to hang on to my culture. But my father, he taught me very clearly with patience and with love that, he didn't force me to be Mizo, but he was so strongly who he was that he drew me into my culture. He drew me into who I am. He used to tell me I would, there was a season in my life where I didn't care about my culture, but he always reminded me, darling, one day when you get older, you will come back to your people. Well, his words have rung true. And so today I'm able to speak Mizo and I'm able to connect with my community. How great is that? I'm so grateful to God for that. So I'll always remember that my dad said that this is a blessing. So today on Mother Tongue Day, I wish you all the best, and I wish you that you would be able to learn Mizo, and no matter what level we are in, let us all always try to use our mother tongue, Mizo. Have a great day.